Good evening. What a great group of people. It's a little overwhelming um, that you guys decided to take a night out, which it won't be 2 hours. We were just trying to test you to see if you were really in it to win it. Um, would take time out to come and talk about probably one of the scariest times that happens in Fayetteville, and that's whenever it gets cold and you're outside. So my name is Becky Sisson. I am the CEO of Seven Hills, and just thank you so much for all it. Because I know some of you guys have been here before. How many of you guys are repeat offenders? Which means a different thing in our work. Go ahead, raise them higher. Um, Thank you for coming back out. Those of you who are new, thank you for being brave enough to come out. We're going to try to make this as quick and as informational as possible. Where are the bathrooms? Are you going to tell people? That's right. I feel like you need to know where the bathrooms are. Go out here and take a right. Help yourself to more food. And I am going to pass it off. Did I miss anything? I'm going to pass it off to Josh. All right, here you go.
Great job, Becky. We are, like she said, we are excited to have everybody here, and we're excited to just have a team to work with as we go through this, what she described as one of the scarier times that the community we work with deals with. They're living in a situation where they don't have the option to get out of the elements. They don't have the option to move into something else. And so with the partnership that we have with the city of Fayetteville, Seven Hills, and several other organizations, we're able to actually provide shelter for them. And so we want to walk through a couple of things this evening. One of the things we want to look at is just what the shelter actually, like how it functions, how it's going to be set up, how all those things work. And so I'm going to give y'all kind of like a layout of what it's going to look like and how it's going to flow. And so this is, if you can see, like this is Genesis Church. Can you kind of see the outline there? You can respond. All right, cool. This is where we're sitting right here in the sanctuary. And then downstairs behind us is the fellowship hall. So when people arrive to come to the shelter at night, they'll come on the far right side here to the check-in door. And then they'll go in, they'll register, and then they'll come down this ramp, and they'll go over into the fellowship hall. They'll be over in the fellowship hall. They'll get dinner over there, and they'll have a bed assigned. And then at some point, if they want a shower, one of our shower attendants will come get them, and they'll bring them back from here over to here to shower and then come back to sleep. And so it all kind of flows pretty smoothly in, and then we bring people back out in just one or twos so that we don't end up with a big traffic jam, so we don't have a lot of chaos on both ends. The most kind of crazy part of the process in the beginning is the registration over here. But Suzanne's going to talk about that in a little bit, and she's got that dialed into a pretty fine science. And so as you're going through this, wherever you end up being assigned, whatever area you end up working in, I wanted you all to have like a big picture of what the whole thing looks like, so that if someone asks you, hey, can I go over here? Hey, do I need to do this? Hey, somebody asked me for this thing. You kind of know where you're at in the way that everything is laid out. So this will be, like I said, kind of our initial big crowd will be here, and then the rest of the night, everyone will be in here. And right in here is where we have all of our cots. We have our kitchen over there. We have 2 bathrooms over there. And the only thing that they'll really need that's a service is our clothes closet and showers that are over on the other side. And so does that kind of make sense, how it's going to be laid out, how it's going to work? Genesis can be a little bit of a maze, but the way that we're approaching it is from the south side, right down here. And so all you really need to know is the main entrance to the fellowship hall, the ramp, and the check-in door. And those will kind of be the ways that you go in and out of things and the way that our people go in and out of things. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to welcome our community into this space. How many of you have said that you've done this project before, worked with our cold weather shelter? A couple. That's awesome. About half. That's great. If you've done it before, you know that it can be a little bit nerve-wracking in the beginning. But then once you kind of get moving through it, you start to build relationships with people. You start to kind of understand how the process works. You start to realize that this is not really as scary of a thing as it might sound like. And so I kind of want to walk you all through just like a little mini picture of what it looks like to welcome our community members into this space. One of the first things to remember is that we're working with human beings created in the image of God. These are not objects. They are not problems. They are not any of those things. These are human beings. These are our brothers and sisters and our neighbors who are here that live in the community around us. And we have been called to provide for those who cannot provide for themselves. We have been called to respond to the grace shown to us in a way that we show grace to the world around us. And so as people are coming in, rather than being here to save somebody, rather than being here to be a hero, what we really want to do is just bring peace. So these are our neighbors. They are in crisis and they're in need of peace. And we are meeting them at a place where all of their little bit of instability has been turned into danger, has been turned into a situation they cannot control. And we have the opportunity to be peace in the midst of a very frightening situation. It's frightening for both sides because you're coming into an environment that you don't understand, and they're coming out of an environment that they can't control and coming into an environment that they don't understand. And so we want to be able to meet in the middle in a way that brings peace to what is happening here. The most important thing that you can do for someone is to make them feel seen and loved. We are not here to save people, like I said. We are not here to change the entire trajectory of someone's life in this project. We are here to make sure that people understand that they are loved and that they are seen. One of the single most important things you can do is learn people's names. As you start to work with people, as they come in the door, as people arrive, start asking their names. The thing that I tell a lot of people is when you show up, come to make friends rather than coming to save somebody. If you show up with the mentality that I'm here to make friends, I'm here to get to know my neighbors, I'm here to welcome people into my space and to share space with them, then it'll change your mindset. It kind of takes some of that panic down a little bit. It kind of takes some of that, like, what if I do the wrong thing? What if I step in the wrong direction? What if I say the wrong thing? Just think of it as making a lot of new friends. And what you'll find is that the people we work with are incredibly friendly, are incredibly, most of the time, pretty easy to deal with, especially in these situations, and that where there is chaos, where there is panic, we have the opportunity to really match that energy with peace. And if you think about what's happening in their lives, they're coming, again, from a situation where they have very little control that has now turned dangerous, and they are hoping to get a spot in this shelter. What they don't know that we know is that they will get a spot inside. It may be here, it may be at Seven Hills Shelter, who we partner with, it may be in Springdale at Elmdale Church, but we will get people to a safe place. Maybe at the Salvation Army right down the road. We will get people to a safe place. No one gets turned away because we run out of room. No one gets turned away because we don't like them. No one gets turned away for any of those reasons. Everyone will be made safe through this process. And so come with that attitude of making friends. The other thing that we want to emphasize is while you're going through this, we want to maintain appropriate boundaries with people. We are not here to enter into like intimate relationships this night with the people that we're working with. We're here to provide a service of peace and love. And so as we're going through that process, it's just important that you and I as individuals remember to maintain our personal boundaries. Maintain the things that we have established for ourselves that are important. It's easy when you get into a situation of need. It's easy when you get into a situation where you don't understand what you're facing to start kind of throwing your boundaries out the window. And that's not necessary. We've tried to structure this in such a way that that's not something that is necessary for you to do. In the midst of this, we want to remember that we're dealing with acute trauma. What's happening here is that this is big T trauma happening in people's lives. They're facing the reality of not surviving the night. And so as we step into that, we have to understand that we're meeting people in the middle of that, and that can express itself in a lot of different ways. It can express itself in very aggressive behavior. It can express itself in very meek behavior, and kind of everything in between. And again, that's where the burden falls to us, and really the privilege falls to us to be peace in the midst of this. People are going to be coming to us with needs, with wants, with all kinds of things, with, like I said before, panic, with misunderstanding. They'll have been given bad information on the street that we'll be overcoming. They will have been told rumors and all kinds of things that they're going to come in here panicked about. And we just want to be peace in the midst of that. And we have the opportunity to really mitigate how extreme that trauma is in their lives as they go through this scenario. What I think is one of the coolest parts about this project is that by being here at this time, we're actually able to provide a mental health service by stopping the progression of that trauma and bringing peace into that scenario. We're trying to not re-traumatize people. We're trying to not put people in situations where they feel completely out of control and exposed. And so we just want to keep these kinds of things in our minds. And we would ask, as we're doing that, that we stay within the structure of the shelter program. You are going to be asked to do a million different things by a million different people, and not all of them are going to fit into what we're doing here. If any of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have basic needs, psychological needs, and self-fulfillment needs. All of them are sort of built on each other. What we are here to meet are basic needs, for the most part: food, water, warmth, rest, security, and safety. That is the primary goal of what we are doing in this scenario. And so if we can keep our focus there, that we're trying to create a warm, safe, peaceful environment, and then when we look at relationships and friendships and accomplishment and all those things, we're setting people up to be able to move into that. We're able, like I said, to make friends and to start developing relationships with people. But remembering that what we're doing here is not necessarily solving all of the problems and all of the things that people come in the door with. So we ask that you stay within that. We've set it up for the way that it is for a reason, and we've set it up that way to meet the immediate needs of the people we're dealing with. We want to avoid creating unnecessary chaos in the middle of this. Have you ever been in a situation where everything's kind of moving in a line and all of a sudden something sort of punches in the middle of that line? It's going to throw the whole thing off. And what we need to do is remember that we're trying to reduce chaos, reduce stress, and keep everybody in a place of peace. People are going to approach you, like I said, with all kinds of needs that are essentially in this scenario going to translate into wants. What we have to keep in mind is that we are not creating a precedent for people. We are not saying we're never going to help you with this. We're not saying we'll never deal with this for you. We're not saying this is an invalid need that you have. All we're saying is that we are here to meet a certain type of needs. We're here to meet you in a certain space. And so we're going to stick to that so that we can do that in a way that is excellent and brings peace. If someone asks you for something that is out of sort of the main things that we're offering, just come find a staff member. Come find a staff member. Don't go off on wild goose chases or geese chases. I don't know which one it is. Don't go chasing geese. Because what ends up happening is then the rest of the system sort of dominoes when we do those sorts of things. And it's going to impact you emotionally. Someone is going to come and ask you for something or have a request that's very emotional for you. And what I would suggest in that is if it's not something that we provide as a main service, come talk to a staff member about it. We'll have a good number of staff members around. We'll be easily identified. And so that will give you the chance to kind of process that, because we don't want to get into a situation where we are over-promising and under-delivering to people, where tonight I'm telling you I'm going to take care of a bunch of things for you in your life, and then maybe I get snowed in at home and I don't show up tomorrow night. Or maybe these things happen. I don't want us to create those scenarios where we're going to just build disappointment or build more trauma into people's lives. And then finally, one of the biggest things is to be aware of your surroundings. As we're in this environment, I would not consider this like a high danger environment. I would not consider this a super risky environment, but it is an environment where you need to be aware of your surroundings. Don't go wandering off into dark corners. Don't go wandering off to people's vehicles. If somebody needs you to go with them, oh, my car is in the park. If you'll just walk over here with me and get it, find a staff member. Those are not things that can't be accomplished. But we have people who are set up and assigned to accomplish some of those more complicated tasks. In the middle of this, basically what's going to happen is that our people are out in the community. We will go pick them up on buses. We'll bring them here. They'll get checked in. They'll go through the check-in process. They'll go into the fellowship hall. They'll get a bed if they want. They'll get a shower. Andy will provide them with a meal. And then they'll go to bed. What we found is by about 8 o'clock, 8:30, everybody's asleep. It is not a real rowdy time. And so the more that we can bring peace to this, the more quickly and easily that night of peaceful rest in the middle of a traumatic situation can be provided. And that's really our goal, is to keep people safe, keep them at peace, and reduce trauma. And then finally, there's just a few things to sort of keep in mind as we go through this. Be calm, be peace, smile, and ask for help. Those are the biggest things you can do. I asked all of the staff members here at Genesis, I said, if you could say one thing to the people who are coming in to work with us on the shelter, what would you say? And almost to a person, they said, bring peace. Be a person of peace. Come in, bring calm, bring peace, and just allow the situation to go from escalated way up here and let it go on down. And that creates an environment where people can rest. They can experience what we have set up for them to experience. Most of the people we're working with are not used to having a night inside that is warm on a cot with a dry blanket and a belly full of food. It's going to be one of their better nights. And that's what I love about this program is that we get to take what is the potential for an absolutely terrible experience and turn it into one of their better nights of the year. And they are grateful for it. And we have the opportunity then, once we're in that kind of calm space and calm environment, then you can start to develop relationships with people. And what you learn is that, again, like I said in the beginning, these aren't problems, these aren't objects, these aren't things to solve. These are human beings created in the image of God that I have the opportunity to come in and impact, to come in and care for, to give of myself in order to make sure that others are safe and warm and have the basic needs that I take for granted. And so that's kind of the idea of just sort of like a little bit of an introduction to what it looks like to welcome our community into here. As we get to the end of this, we'll take some questions. There's a couple more things we're going to go through our check-in process and our overnight process, and then Becky's going to talk about how we activate as a shelter. And so we're going to run through that, and then once they're done, any questions that you all have, you can feel free to ask and share with us. So Susanna's going to come up, and she's going to talk about our check-in process.
Hello, everybody. I'm Suzanne. For those who do not know me, I'm on staff here at Genesis, so hello. So with our check-in process, the goal is to, of course, remain calm, right? Be peace, but then also to get them in as quickly as possible because they're cold, right? So we want them in as soon as possible. So when they come in, they will receive a number. They will have a seat. We will have coffee in Wesley, where we will be located, because we want them to get warmed up. Okay, so a lot of times when they come in, we're trying to get them warm. We want them in as quickly as possible, but as efficiently as possible, and as peacefully and calm as possible. Josh already talked about just being peace and remaining. Ourselves, we need to remain calm, right? So then that they can have a sense of calm as well and peace. And so they will come in, they will receive a number. From there, if we will activate after January 1st, then we will use a system, Mission Tracker, right? And we'll get folks in that. Overall, we try to have the actual check-in process, ideally, that it is over within about 25, 30 minutes, right? Max is about 30 minutes. When they check in, they will tell us at that time if they want to take a shower. And then from there, they will start to be called over to the other side to have their meal. What we've noticed is a lot of times when folks get in and they get warm, they're eating a meal, they don't want to come back over for a shower. And so that happens, that's fine. But the showers are available. Showers are 15 minutes. Depending on how many folks we have signed up for a shower, sometimes we have to take that down to 12 minutes. But we'll make that call the night of. Then from there, they're able to obtain clean underwear, clean socks, a fresh pair of clothes for them to have. Again, if they do not want to shower, that is completely fine. Sometimes when they get settled, they don't want to come back over because they do have to leave from the fellowship hall and walk back over into Wesley in order to do that. And so last year, we were open 9 consecutive nights. And so most of the time, folks were showering like every other day. Several folks are in, lost my train of thought there. Okay, let's see what else. So they'll receive a number when they come in. We'll get them warmed, and then from there, we will start calling them over to the fellowship hall. Those who are going to help with showers, we always need runners, and a runner is someone that will go over to the fellowship hall and we'll have that next person in line that they can bring back over to Wesley so that they can shower. Okay. Folks are allowed to bring in their pets. We do have kennels. We also have blankets and pads and things like that for their pets so that we can get them warmed as well. And so, just answering that question if anyone has that question. I think I've got it covered for check in. The goal is 30 minutes or less. Let's see if we can do it quicker this time.
Do it. Hi, I'm Janice. I work here at Genesis Church. And yeah, we've gotten to 3 check in, and everybody's over on this side. And as she said, most people, when they come in, you can't hear me. Oh, there we go. I'm not the one up here always on a microphone, so I don't do this very often. They will come over on this side if they have animals, which Suzanne mentioned. We have kennels. We have blankets here. We have pillows here. All of that gets laundered and washed every day. So that's a team of people that we use to do that. But they get that. So they come in, and we have somebody, and this is one of our big volunteer opportunities where you can kind of get to know people because they're past that checking in and it's not quite so harried. But they come over, and someone will take them back into the area we have cordoned off with cots in it and help them find a cot that's not been taken yet. And they get a tub, a pretty good sized tub that will fit under their cots, and they can put their belongings in there. If they have an animal, they can get a crate, they can get a blanket for them, they can put them by them. They don't stay outside or in another room somewhere. And at that point, they really seem to kind of start easing down too, and that's a great time. Just, let me help you find a place, and ask them their name and be able to go help them. And yeah, we've got blankets, and oh, you've got a dog, let me help you with that, So it just really, it becomes more personal then, and they really, people are, well, they're just more relaxed. When they come in also over on the fellowship hall side, we try to always have extra socks and things like that for them. We keep minor first aid things like Band-Aids and all that. We also have a couple of nurses who volunteer. We have one who's here tonight, Miss Allison. And so they are there just to kind of, if you're having a problem, see if they can help you, see if they can give you any advice or just look at things. Maybe we need to call for more help and take someone someplace. So we do that too, if it need be. Sometimes people come in and they do need more help. Maybe it's they get through the night and we take them the next morning. So people sit down and eat. We have a separate area with some tables set up. So people sit down and eat, and they start visiting with each other. We have lots of coffee during that 12 hours or so. Andy fixes some wonderful meals, so I know he'll do great with that too this year. And so they really begin to relax. Usually about 8 o'clock is when things really settle down. People are full. Maybe they've had their shower, maybe they haven't. And they start laying down, getting their settled and getting their things out that they need. And they'll start laying down, and we'll turn off part of the lights in Fellowship Hall so that it's just a quieter, dimmer situation. Some will stay up and visit with each other. That's fine. They may play some cards at the table. We try to, have those kind of things too. And like I said, they may have some other needs. If it's, I need a pair of shoes, or I need this for what job or whatever, those aren't things we're trying to deal with during cold weather shelter or overnight for sure. This is just really basic. Stick with it, and get to know them and make them feel like they're safe and they're wanted, that they matter. Because that's huge. And then, gosh, by 10, it's pretty much lights out. They're gone, and the rest of us are zonked out too, so are ready to. We do have security, and at night we have some gentlemen who spend the night here. So there's always somebody with them. Most of our volunteers by, that 9 o'clock, maybe 10 at the latest kind of thing. You might help in the kitchen. If Andy's cooking, there's dishes to do. There's trash to take outside. There's just all that kind of stuff. And while all of this is happening, Josh and Scott and some of the others will probably be out in vans, also surfing the neighborhood to make sure there's nobody out there that didn't get in. And the police will bring people by too at times. So you can kind of know that, and word of mouth, people know where to go. But we do go out and check on people. So we make sure they're all tucked in. They don't need anything. Sometimes they need some Tylenol or a Band-Aid. We take care of that and all. And then those gentlemen stay overnight, and, we go home and come back the next morning and try to get things moving and get them out of here so they can go back down to the day center and take care of things. So big thing is just being a friend, just being friendly, and it really doesn't take very long to be relaxed. At first, it's kind of overwhelming, and they're all coming in, and like Josh said, they're wanting a place, and they're afraid they're not going to get a spot, and so there's some of that tension and all. But just remind them that that's what we're here for. So we're going to make it happen, regardless of what kind of numbers we have or what we're doing. We're going to make it happen for them and take care of them. So I think that's it for me, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. You're back.
Thank you so much. All right. I'm on activation. So what are we activating? Maybe I should have talked about that a little bit before. So you guys have agreed to and are a part of the cold weather response for the city of Fayetteville, right? So if you hear that word crew, or people are talking about Fayetteville crew, you are now a part of the crew. So there are 3 agencies that work together. We've got Potter's House, Genesis Church, and Seven Hills. Salvation Army is also doing cold weather response, but they're the Salvation Army, and they have a different level of whenever they start their cold weather response. When it's 32 degrees at or below, Salvation Army is already functioning in an emergency shelter mode. They add 24 extra beds, and so people are already staying there. That's what they do, but they are a part of our response. So the activation is this, right? Now I'm thinking we should have done this first, but we're not going back because we're going to try to get you out of here by 7. Whenever it's 15 at or below, we go into our cold weather response. And what that means for this collective is Seven Hills Homeless Center is open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will be functioning at Jefferson Elementary, which is so close, right? How nice is that? We did this last year. Janice worked to get us in there. So as soon as it gets cold, day center operations are actually going to move to Jefferson Elementary School because it's close. So we'll be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., serving people through the day. And whenever it comes time to go to sleep and to get relaxed and have peace, that's when we start executing people and executing the plan and sending people over. Come on now. I was going to try to totally Dustin still got a straight face. Dustin, how do you have a straight? Please do not tell anybody that you came to training and I said that. When we start executing the plan, it's a little bit easier because we're not so far away. Because really, the distance is kind of crazy. So we'll have people who are staying at the overnight shelter at Seven Hills, which is new. We didn't have that last year. And people that will stay at Genesis Church. And so we'll be trying to coordinate kind of who's going to be going where during the day. So we're hoping that's the new thing this year. So if you were here last year, it evolved because we had 9 days of experience that we were able to learn from. We had no choice. But so we're still kind of evolving still yet in that we've got some more beds than we had last year. And so we're hoping it'll be a little bit smoother transition because we're not going 4 or 5 different places. So that's what we're actually activating, not executing, activating is that cold weather response. So when it hits at 15, or we look at Weather Underground and we see it, I'm going to reach out to Josh and Janice, and we're going to try to make a decision as early as possible in the morning, right? And so that as soon as we know, so we'll kind of have a conversation, and whenever we know we're going to have to open shelter, we'll kind of touch base. We'll do a press release that will go out to the community. And then you guys, how many of you guys signed up through Sign Up Genius? Okay, if you did not, I have my business cards, all right? And I want you to either write down your email address or take this. Sign Up Genius is going to be the way that we communicate with you. It's really super simple. You kind of sign up, give us your name and add your email address, and if you'll give us a phone number, you can actually opt in for text messages. So we'll be able to send you a text, and I promise we won't sell your name, and just say very quickly, hey, we're going into cold weather. It's 15 out or below. Well, maybe we'll come up with something kind of cool to say, code blue, code peace, and so that you guys will kind of know that we're going to be reaching out for help. And so if you haven't done that, please do that. If you have questions about it, Josh can help you, I can help you, but that's what we'll activate. We're going to be using Sign Up Genius to do that. It's just easier that way. We also know it is cold, extreme weather, so those of you who have a four-wheel drive, sometimes you are snowed in. We get that. But whenever you sign up for this, maybe we'll be lucky this year and there won't be any precipitation. Maybe it'll just be cold, because last year was kind of crazy. But that's what we're activating, right? We're activating the plan, and so that we don't have anybody outside during the day or at night, and we're actually saving lives when we do that. So I kind of took you back a little bit and brought you forward. Huh? Well, that's a great question. Do we need to go into food real quick? Oh, darn it. So that's a great question. So we're anywhere between 5:30, right? Were you thinking about 5:30? So we're going to start sending out that we need help. We'll be at Jefferson Elementary. It won't be as far as a ride. So hopefully would you say between 5 and 5:30 would be the best for you guys, or would you like someone here earlier? No, 5 or 5:30. You'll be here. That's right, but we're going to bring people to you. Some people, not all people, but some people, right? So this effort here is for what happens at Genesis Church, right? But I wanted you guys to understand that if anyone asks you, because you will be asked, because you're so proud of we're proud of you, and we're grateful, and you're going to go out and say, I'm helping with cold weather, and someone's going to say, oh, well, they don't take pets, and you're going to be like, yes, they do. I was at a training, they take pets, and someone's going to say, well, they're cold during the day, and you'll be able to say, no, they're not. They have a place to stay during the day, right? So it's the best 24. I'm telling you what, cold weather is really a special time for a lot of the people that we serve on a daily basis. Should I ask for questions?
We're going to field some questions now. If you have a question, I'm going to bring you the mic. This is for the purpose of the recording, because we're recording it for other people who weren't able to make it to the training. They can watch, and we want them to be able to hear the questions that you all are asking.
Do you guys have any questions? We were that good?
Yes. How many people does this location serve? Up to about 55.
Which is great. So we'll have 64 beds at Seven Hills. Salvation Army has 48, right? So, and this is 55 at its max.
We can cram more.
But who's doing the math? 55 plus 48 plus 64.
About 160.
Good job.
Yes. What is Potter's House role in this?
So Potter's House owns Jefferson Elementary. So whenever Jefferson Elementary went up for sale, they bought it. And they're trying to figure out what they want to do with that community space. So last year, we had about 165 people in one of the buildings at Seven Hills. It was standing room only, waiting until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night to get on a bus to be transported somewhere. And so Janice, in her wisdom, reached out to Potter's House and said, hey, what are you doing with the space at Jefferson Elementary, and can we use it? And they were very naive and said, absolutely. And we had 165 people at Jefferson Elementary. They opened up the bathrooms for us. We were able to provide food for people. And they actually enjoyed doing it so much that they wanted to be a part again this year. They bring in volunteers that we would never see. I ran into someone the other night at home, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm going to be volunteering at Potter's House." So that's the role that Potter's House plays, is they're letting us use their facility.
Last year, we had the women at the Squire Center, and as well, we were directing some family groups to the Squire Center. What about this year? I mean, this seems so well organized, but will there be any direction for women or family groups?
We are able to set. We have a women's section, and we have female and male sections at Seven Hills. So we're able to separate the population. And I don't know that if they want to be, right? But at Seven Hills, they already are. We've got a whole hall that's just for females and a whole hall that's for males. I'm not sure what we did with, we don't have anyone on the record for families.
We have our space at
Did you have-
Seven Hills that will be available for families.
Perfect.
We have a townhouse at Seven Hills. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that will be available for families.
We should talk. Maybe we could have a second one ready by then.
We should talk.
Does that help? So, yeah.
When we get the call that we're going to have shelter, do we know if we're going to be helping with cooking food or what spot? Do we just show up when you get the call?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so because it is an on-call situation and we don't know who's going to be available, who's going to be snowed in, who's going to be whatever, we'll just have everybody come and congregate, and then we'll kind of hand out assignments. Just because we don't have like a steady group of people that we know will be here.
Hey, I just had a question. You probably already thought about this, but kind of in my experience doing it, what causes one of the most anxious times is finding their bed and not getting it taken away when they leave to go get something to eat, go get at the bathroom, go do whatever. So in the past, wherever you are, Josh, whatever we've done before is take those crates and put them under the bed, and that's kind of like the universal sign that that's taken care of. Is that still what we're doing? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the people that we served this year are probably people that we've served in the past. So as consistent as we can be, the better, for sure.
Would you just show up for like morning or evening, whichever one you can do, or do you need to like say which one you're coming to?
So we're only asking necessarily for the evening at this point. We have a team that we've resourced from the community through our Pick Me Up program that comes in the morning and does all the turnover for the next night.
And then we'll have Seven Hills staff will be at Potter's House. If you want to help at Jefferson Elementary, Zach, you can totally come and do that.
Anybody else? Questions? Concerns? Comments? Feelings?
Well, if you have, the great thing about Sign Up Genius, if you have questions, you can email me, or you can actually respond to your Sign Up Genius email, and it will send me your request. So we recorded this, which is why we've been up on stage, and Josh has been pushing a mic in our faces. Janice, you did such a great job. So we'll put the link out for people who missed so that they can also watch the training. And there's going to be questions, and we will communicate with you. Again, Sign Up Genius is great. I will try not to inundate you with a whole bunch of emails, but really it gives us a way to communicate with each other that's quick, and we can let other people know what the questions are as well. The first night is going to be crazy. We're going to have too many volunteers or no volunteers. Hopefully we'll have too many. That's just, again, we're not hoping or wishing for 9 days, but it really was helpful to be consistent with those 9 days. So it might be that we have one day that it's going to be just 16, and we sit and talk and say, we know the next day is going to be 14 at or below. So just to keep it easier for us, we might just not break, right? We kind of had that a little bit last year where it warmed up for just a brief moment and then it went right back down, and it was just easier to keep everybody in place.
One other thing I would say to that too is if you show up the first night and you feel like you don't have a place, because we will have a lot of volunteers. What we found in the past is that the first night we have 50 people here, and the second night we have 2.
That's right.
Because everybody showed up and said, well, they don't need me. That's not the case.
Right.
If you should, the first night we will have a lot of people, and then we'll kind of, as it goes on, we'll have places for everybody to come.
That's right. So the next communication that you should, because you're all going to sign up on Sign Up Genius, is we're going to get your shirt sizes. We're going to actually purchase staff shirts and volunteer shirts this year, so everyone will get a volunteer shirt. We didn't think about that until Josh had a brilliant idea, or we would have given you a shirt tonight. But we're going to make you show up to help before you get a shirt. So I will send out just a real brief email. If you can reply and let me know what size shirt you need. That's something that, because the city of Fayetteville helps fund this initiative, Genesis Church does so much of it and has, because that's what they do as a church. But we also have some additional funding from the city of Fayetteville and from the Accelerate Foundation to do things like clear the snow off the parking lot over at Jefferson Elementary, which we needed last year, or to pay the pick-me-up guys or anyone who's going to be helping us. So we're trying to use that money as wisely as possible. That's not necessarily going back directly to an organization, but it's going to the community that needs the service. And so I reached out to the city and was like, can we please get shirts? And they were like, absolutely. So you will get a volunteer shirt this year. It'll be long sleeve too. Nice.
Why 15 degrees?
That's a great question. And I will tell you what most people will tell you is that there have been studies done, and that's the point where it gets critical for someone's life. Working in and with the population for years in Virginia and here, and Josh and Janice can tell you, at some point, people who are outside, they're not going to come in unless it gets that cold. Because people are, they've got a place to go, they've got a tent, they don't want to lose their spot. So people who are staying outside, not in shelter, have a place. Nick and I talked about they have a place and they're prepared. They're more prepared than you could ever be prepared. And 32 and 28 might feel cold to us because we go out in it and we're not used to it, but it's not feeling that cold to someone who's living in it. And so we could sit and be open and we wouldn't have as many people come in. It's the real critical moment for someone's health and their livelihood is when it gets down closer to 10 or 12. And so at 15, we're starting to kind of build that relationship with them enough to come in. We're communicating with people all day long. Genesis Church is communicating with people all day long. Salvation Army is communicating with people. Genesis is making sure that people have some sleeping bags that are warm. There's a place to stay during the day. There's shelter that's happening right now even at Seven Hills. But it's once you get kind of used to being out in it, you're not going to come inside. And that's why Josh and the crew that go around and do outreach, it's like we have police officers that will drive by and be like, you have got to be inside. You will not survive tonight. There have been years here, just a couple of years ago, where there was a couple that people were like, you cannot stay outside. You will not survive. They refused to come inside, and they did not survive. And so much of it is our trust relationship and that communication that, hey, we know you can handle it to this point, but when it gets to this point, we're going to be out knocking on the van at Lowe's, making sure you're warm. We're going to be out finding you. We know where, I just asked, Pick Me Up kind of knows where people are staying. We're going to come out and find you because we know it's in your absolute best interest. No is not acceptable. You've got to come in. And a lot of times because the mass community is coming in, for some reason it's okay for us to as well. Right? Well, if you can't make it, then I can't. So we'll all go in together. Does that help? Yeah. I know that may not make sense to us, but you sit and spend some time with someone, it totally makes sense to them. Right? Did I just say, did it make sense? Any other questions?
There was a question if people can smoke. People can smoke outside. Does Seven Hills have that same?
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
So yeah, outside. And then the other thing, just in response to that other question, also, this is not the only cold weather resource that is being provided over the wintertime. Seven Hills does a really great job of providing cold weather resources. Genesis provides some cold weather resources. Life Source. Our community is well resourced for cold weather. This is when no matter how well you're resourced, you start to run into risk.
It's emergency. That's right. Thank you guys so much for coming and spending time with us, learning about what we do. And I can tell you, Seven Hills is so grateful for. You have someone from LifeSource here, did you say? That's great. Oh, they don't. Okay. Well, but for all of the partners, the partnership has really grown this year, and we are just so excited. We couldn't do it without you. And I would like to say that I hope that we don't have to use you this year, but I hope that we do have to use you this year because I want you to feel like we can, put your volunteer time to good use and be prepared for anything that happens in our community. So that's all I have to say. Josh, do you have anything else to say? Oh,
Suzanne has one more thing.
I'm not saying goodbye again. That was my goodbye.
Real quick, just to help so that you can have in mind the jobs that are needed. Josh pointed this out last year. Last year, the first night, we had a lot of folks that showed up to volunteer, and they did not come back. And so just to have in your mind, well, what can I do to help? We do need help with the meal. We need help with serving the meal. We need help with cleanup after the meal, including washing dishes, taking out trash, helping out in that area. We also need shower runners, those folks that will come back and forth from the fellowship hall to Wesley to bring people back and forth from showers. We also need help with check-in, with registration. Last year it was me, Miss Janice, and we had two other volunteers that helped. But we need help with that. So keep these jobs in mind. I'm trying to think what else we need help with. Cook, cleaning. Yes. Helping folks with finding their cots. That question was asked of how we do that, helping people with that. So just kind of keep those jobs in your mind so that when it is activated, you can come here and say, okay, this is what I'm prepared to help with. Does that help? Because a lot of times people are like, I don't know what I need to do. Have those jobs in mind of what you can do so that when it is activated and you come, you can get to work. Because we do need all hands on deck. All right.
Are there any other questions before we wrap it up? Thank you all for listening attentively. Thank you all for being here. This is actually this is one of my favorite things that we do all year because it's one of the few times that you get to see the whole community come together and spend some time together. Every other time that we're together, we're accomplishing something specific. In this environment, we're just here hanging out, and that makes it a really sweet time. And I think you'll find that you'll develop relationships, you'll make friends, and you'll really enjoy yourself if you come out. So we can't thank y'all enough for coming out tonight, for signing up for this, for being a part of this collective that we're having to do this. Again, a huge thanks to Seven Hills and all of their leadership in this. Seven Hills is the leading agency that does this project, and so without their leadership and guidance, this would not happen. Again, also one of the main things that has changed this year is that Seven Hills has actually opened a permanent shelter. And so they have 32 beds on a permanent basis, and then they are opening another 32 beds for cold weather. And so that has made a huge change in just the dynamic of our community. And so just a huge thank you to them for the work that they're doing, and to you all, for being a part of this. Dustin, you want to pray for us, and we'll go?
Just pray with me. God, we're just so thankful for the fact that you love us, that you care for us, that you've united us together for common purpose. God, I just pray, God, that we would have a mind of unity and connection as we aim to love and to be your hands and feet in this community. God, I pray, God, that you would allow when the shelter opens, that it would be a place of warmth, of connection, of love, that people feel safe and seen. And so, God, prepare all of us for that environment, that it'll be a space that would be overflowing with goodness. And God, protect us all as we leave this place until we come together again when we are activated to do the work. In Jesus' name, amen.